After 3.5 years of marriage, I discovered my wife's affair and quietly left. But a year later, she tracked me down. I met Lauren on a sun-drenched summer afternoon at a lakeside cookout hosted by a mutual friend. From the very first moment, amidst the laughter and chatter, our eyes locked as if it had been fated. Lauren, with her radiant smile and witty, engaging conversation, made my heart skip a beat. As a rough-around-the-edges guy, I never imagined someone like her, beautiful, sharp, ambitious, would ever be drawn to me. Yet somehow, she said it was my simplicity and sincerity that she had been seeking in a world full of noise and deception. We fell for each other quickly, fiercely, like two wildfires colliding. Our rushed dates, long nights filled with whispered promises and burning gazes, everything felt like a dream I never wanted to wake from. After 18 months, I asked Lauren to marry me, and she said yes, laughing and crying at the same time. The early years of our marriage were sweet and full of hope. We rented a spacious apartment in the suburbs, planning a future together. A small house with a white picket fence, children laughing in the backyard. Though work sometimes kept us busy, Lauren and I always found our way back to each other, like two weary travelers finding the same beacon in the dark. Back then, I believed with all my heart that our love was strong enough to withstand any storm the world might throw our way. As time went by, the sweetness of our early days was gradually replaced by a strange and unspoken distance. I began to notice subtle changes in Lauren, tiny cracks in our seemingly perfect life cracks I had once thought only happened to other people's marriages. She became busier, overwhelmingly so. Nights when Lauren came home after work grew fewer, replaced instead by hurried text messages. Love, I have a meeting with my boss. Or, important networking event tonight, don't wait up. At first, I reassured myself. She was just ambitious, just chasing her career. I had once admired that fierce spark in her eyes. How could I now use it to accuse her? But as her late nights multiplied, sometimes without even a simple text, I found myself sitting alone in the living room, listening to the ticking of the clock, each second slicing deeper into my nerves. Where is she? Who is she with? Why does this emptiness feel so suffocating? We still talked, we still shared updates about work, but somewhere in her voice, in the small absences between her words, I could feel Lauren slipping away into another world, one where I no longer belonged. I tried to pull her back. Romantic dinners, spontaneous weekend getaways. But each time, she had an excuse ready. Even during rare moments of intimacy, there was a hesitation that had never been there before. She smiled, but her eyes darted away. She held my hand, but it felt cold, as if I were touching a stranger. One evening, I quietly asked if she was feeling overwhelmed by work. Lauren snapped, her voice sharp with irritation. You're hardly ever home yourself, so don't blame me. I sat there, stunned. Hadn't I offered to cut back on my travel, just to spend more time with her? Gradually, every small action from Lauren became another seed of doubt, planted deep in my mind. Long, whispered calls late into the night. Quick flicks of her phone screen whenever I entered the room. Forced smiles and deflected questions. I didn't want to believe something was wrong. I clung desperately to the memories of better times, hoping they could somehow patch the growing cracks. But deep down, in a place I refused to acknowledge, I knew our love was slipping away. Like a sandcastle, slowly dissolving under a relentless winter rain, all I could do was watch it crumble, powerless to stop it. That day, under a cold, drizzling rain, I stumbled upon something that made my heart plummet into a bottomless void. Lauren had just come home from a grocery run and asked me to grab a few bags from her car. As I leaned into the back seat, amidst the scattered shopping bags, something caught my eye, a flash of red, glinting from beneath the front passenger seat. I reached out and pulled it free. It was a bra, deep wine red in color, from a brand I knew Lauren favored. At first, I tried to fool myself. Maybe it had fallen there days ago. Maybe she had simply dropped it rushing home. But reason struck me like a thunderbolt. Lauren was meticulous. She hated clutter. Couldn't even stand a wrinkle on her dresses. There was no way she'd just carelessly leave something like this in her car. I stood there frozen, rain soaking through my clothes, the delicate piece of fabric clenched tightly in my hand like a damning piece of evidence. My head spun, nausea coiling in my gut. When I finally forced myself back into the house, Lauren looked up from the kitchen and frowned. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, half joking. I mumbled something incoherent, doing everything I could to mask the hurricane raging inside me. That night, I lay awake staring into the darkness, my mind replaying every small moment I had dismissed. The late nights, the sudden phone calls, the vague excuses. The image of that bra haunted me, tightening a vice around my chest with every passing second. The anger, the betrayal, the humiliation they coiled together, suffocating me. But I knew I had to be sure. I couldn't act on a hunch, no matter how damning it felt. So, with a grim determination that chilled me to the bone, I began to plan. I would find out the truth with my own eyes. No more blind faith. No more pretending. Lauren had built a fortress of lies around us, and I was going to tear it down, even if it destroyed me in the process. That night, a different version of Ethan was born. Colder, sharper, silent, ready to face whatever ugly truth awaited me. That night, the air was bitter cold, and I could feel my fingers numbing as I sat in my car, staring through the fogged-up windshield. I had slipped my work phone into Lauren's car earlier, using it to track her movements, a betrayal of trust, but nothing compared to what she had done to me. I sat there, motionless, feeling like a ghost haunting my own life. Lauren emerged from the house, dressed in that black dress, the one I had bought her for our anniversary. She looked radiant, laughing softly into her phone, completely oblivious to the wreckage she was leaving behind. She hailed a taxi, and without thinking, I followed. The cab dropped her off at an upscale bar downtown. I parked a short distance away, my heart hammering against my ribs. The cold seeped into my bones, but I barely noticed. Through the large front windows, I saw her and him. He was sharply dressed, polished every bit the corporate predator. His hand brushed against her lower back as they laughed together. A touch, too intimate to be innocent. I watched as Lauren leaned closer, smiling in that soft way I hadn't seen directed at me in months. My stomach twisted into knots. An hour later, they left together. His hand found hers as naturally as breathing. I trailed them from a distance, bile rising in my throat. Their car pulled into a hotel parking lot, cheap, discreet. I watched them walk into the lobby, arms brushing, bodies leaning close, utterly at ease with each other. I stayed frozen in my car, fists clenched on the steering wheel, staring at the glowing entrance until my vision blurred. There was no need for any more proof. No more excuses. No more denial. Lauren had betrayed me fully, completely, and without regret. I don't remember how long I sat there, broken and hollowed out. Long enough for the world around me to feel muted, like I was drifting underwater. Tears blurred my vision, but they weren't hot and angry anymore. They were cold, resigned. When I finally started the engine and pulled away from the hotel, I knew that something inside me had died that night. Whatever faith, whatever hope had once lived in me, it had been buried under the cold, merciless weight of the truth. From the night I saw Lauren walk into that hotel with him, everything inside me shifted. There were no more tears, no more raging storms, only a cold, hollow emptiness. I knew then that I had to leave, quietly, without confrontation, without giving her a chance to spin another web of lies. In the days that followed, while Lauren continued to flit about, oblivious, I started preparing my escape. I went to work as usual, but at night, I methodically packed away pieces of my life. Important documents, personal belongings, clothes, my laptop carefully hidden away in my car, bit by bit, so she wouldn't notice. Every time I watched Lauren fix her makeup in the mirror, giggling on the phone with someone who clearly wasn't me, I felt a deep, burning bitterness coil in my chest. Once upon a time, this woman had been my world. Now, she was a stranger wrapped in a familiar skin. Then came my opportunity. Lauren announced she had a 3-day out-of-town work trip. She kissed me absently on the cheek before wheeling her suitcase out the door, completely unaware that it would be the last time she ever saw me in that house. After the door clicked shut, I sat still for a few moments, letting the silence seep into my bones. Then I moved. Fast. Everything that was mine and only mine went into my car. I left the shared furniture, the memories, the hollow promises. They belonged to a life I no longer claimed. On the dining table, I placed a small envelope. Inside was my wedding ring, glinting coldly under the dim light. I scribbled a single line on a torn piece of paper. I hope it was worth it. No signature, no explanations. When I locked the door behind me for the last time, a bitter wind howled down the street, as if trying to push me back. I didn't look over my shoulder. Not once. I drove off into the night, carrying nothing but the clothes on my back and the burning resolve in my chest. I knew the pain would come later, creeping in when the adrenaline wore off. But I would face it alone, far away from the lies, the betrayal, the ashes of a love I once believed unbreakable. I thought I had left everything behind: the memories, the betrayal, the hollowed out pain. But the past, it seemed, wasn't finished with me yet. One late afternoon, as I stood waiting for my coffee outside a small-town shop, a familiar voice called out behind me. "Ethan!" I turned, and there was Lauren, gasping for breath like she had sprinted across half the town. She looked almost the same, her blonde hair tied high, dressed in a simple white dress. But her eyes were different. They were clouded with something raw, desperate. I froze. 100 emotions threatened to surface, but I stayed still, watching her approach. Lauren reached out, as if to touch me, but instinctively, I raised my hands, creating a clear boundary between us. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice trembling. I nodded stiffly. "Not here. Not in front of a crowd." I led her to a bench under a large oak tree, far from the prying eyes of strangers. Lauren sat down, wringing her hands, fighting to find her voice. "I've been looking for you," she finally whispered. "I know I messed up. I lost everything. My job, my reputation, and you." I looked straight into her tear-filled eyes, once my whole world, now just a reflection of a life I had outgrown. "Lauren," I said, my voice colder than I even intended, "there's nothing left to fix here." She clutched at my arm, sobbing openly now. "Please, Ethan, give me a chance. I swear. Whatever I had with him, it's over. I ended it. I just want to start over with you. I can't live without you." I pulled my arm free, as if her touch burned me. "Do you know what hurts the most?" I said quietly, my words sharp enough to slice through her sobs. "It's not that you cheated. It's that you destroyed something: sacred trust, respect, the years I loved you without holding anything back." Lauren crumpled onto the bench, her body shaking uncontrollably. "I love you, Ethan," she cried. "I'll do anything to make this right. Anything." I stood up. I looked down at the woman who had once been everything to me and realized she was now a stranger, mourning the life she herself had murdered. "Love isn't begging for forgiveness through tears," I said, voice steady. "Love is not betraying the person who trusted you most." Without another word, I turned and walked away. Lauren called my name, her voice splintered with despair, echoing down the empty street. But I didn't turn back. I had walked too far to look over my shoulder now. And no amount of regret, no amount of pleading, could bring back the man who once believed in her. In the days that followed our encounter, Lauren kept trying to reach me. Calls, texts, emails, all of them pouring in like a relentless tide I refused to acknowledge. She begged, pleaded, promised anything if only I would give her another chance. Once, she even showed up at the trailer I now called home, standing outside in the pouring rain, looking every bit the broken figure she claimed to be. But I never opened the door. I had wasted enough of my life aching over someone who wasn't worthy of it. Now, every time I saw her name flash across my screen, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a hollow kind of indifference. Like seeing a ghost from a story I no longer cared about. One Saturday evening, I received a long, rambling email from Lauren. She detailed sleepless nights, endless regrets, and how she had rejected every other relationship since losing me. I read every word with the same detached calm I might read a weather report. Toward the end, she confessed she was accepting a job in another state and begged to see me one last time. I wrote a single sentence in response. I wish you well, but there's no place for you on the path I've chosen. I blocked her after that. No more contact. No more opportunities for her to reopen wounds I was determined to heal. Lauren disappeared from my life as quickly as she had once consumed it. And for the first time in a long while, I began to truly live again. Days turned into weeks. I spent my time fixing up the trailer, planting trees, breathing in the crisp mountain air. I ran more, hiked trails I had once only dreamed of, and learned to enjoy my own company. Every nail hammered into the trailer, every sapling planted in the dirt, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Some evenings, when the sun dipped low and bathed the hills in golden light, I would sit on the trailer steps with a cup of coffee, watching the breeze ripple through the trees. It was in those quiet moments I realized I didn't need forgiveness from Lauren. I didn't need her closure. All I needed was the freedom to choose my own peace. Sometimes, fleeting memories of her would brush against my mind, a laugh, a look, a touch. But they no longer hurt. They drifted by like passing clouds, acknowledged, and then let go. I knew somewhere out there, Lauren was still grappling with the consequences of her choices. But that was no longer my concern. Her battles were hers alone to fight. I had chosen my own life. A life built not on lies or broken promises, but on strength, solitude, and the quiet, unwavering certainty that I deserved better. For the first time in years, I was truly free. In the days after cutting off all contact, I thought the past had finally been buried. But Lauren wasn't ready to let go. She kept trying emails, desperate messages through mutual friends, even letters left at places she thought I might visit. Her words grew more frantic each time. Confessions, pleas, promises that she had changed, that she had learned, that she would do anything to earn my forgiveness. But I didn't reply. Not once. One afternoon, I received a particularly long email. Lauren wrote that she was moving to a different state for work, but before she left, she begged to see me one last time. She spoke of regrets, of nights she spent crying, of dreams where she woke up screaming my name. She pleaded for a final conversation, a chance to explain, to ask for absolution. I read the message without feeling a single pang of sympathy. The Ethan, who had once wept for her, who had once fought sleepless nights over her betrayal, was long gone. I didn't answer. When the day of her departure came and went without another word from me, I felt nothing but peace. A peace I had carved out of my own brokenness, piece by piece, day by day. Life moved forward. I woke up to the sound of birds instead of arguments. I worked with my hands instead of drowning in my thoughts. I ran until my muscles ached and my lungs burned, and when I stood on the mountaintop, feeling the wind whip against my skin, I felt alive, truly alive. Sometimes, in rare moments of stillness, a memory of Lauren would drift through my mind like an old worn photograph. I would look at it, acknowledge it, and then let it fade. She was a chapter I had closed, a lesson I had learned at great cost. I never hated her. I didn't wish her pain, but I no longer carried her mistakes on my shoulders. They were hers to bear, not mine. And so, with each passing day, I continued building a new life, a quieter life, a stronger one. One evening, as I sat on the trailer steps, watching the stars blink into existence one by one, I realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest act of love you can offer yourself is simply walking away, even from the people you once thought you couldn't live without. I don't know where Lauren is now. Maybe she found someone new. Maybe she's still chasing ghosts. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that I'm free. Free from betrayal. Free from regret. Free to choose peace in myself every single day.